Howdy, howdy. How is everyone doing? I hope you are doing well. All right, there we go. All right, so what is going on? So first of all, this week we put our farm on the market. I've been talking about it for a while, but that's actually been the thing that's been going on. If y'all want to actually see the information on our farm, here is a QR code. You have to if you're on your phone, I don't know if you can tap stuff. I don't even know, but I'll put a link in the chat too. I think I can do that. There's a link in the chat to our house as well, just in case anybody wants to see the farm. I mean, you have to live in northern Michigan for it to make sense to buy it. I get that, but I get a lot of questions about the farm, and there you go. Now you can actually see it in all of its glory. But that's what's been going on this week. Mason, you're probably gone. That's okay. And yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot that the time changes, it changes differently or whatever. But yeah, we'll see what's going on. Same time for me. It's always with whatever Eastern time is here. It's it's as if daylight saving time weren't crazy enough. The idea that it doesn't even change at the same time in the countries that honor it is just ridiculous. But nonetheless, yeah, it's I think ours is over. Did ours end? I don't even remember. It's fall back. I don't know when it's over. But I think Mason said next. Oh no, our daylight saving time ends next Sunday. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. Anyway. Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, it's not paid. That's why I'm selling it, man. I can't afford to pave 12 acres. So no. If it were like 10 minutes closer to town, it would be, I might be able to convince my wife that we should sell the house in town and move to the farm. But it takes like 35 minutes to get to town, and that's just so far, especially in the wintertime. But anyway, yeah, I guess I didn't even realize that daylight saving time has changed. Or is that the case? Like, it's already changed for y'all, and it doesn't change for us until Sunday, like the 3rd, I guess. So I don't know. I guess one more thing to make the election day that much more stressful, right? The adjustment of daylight saving time ending. It's ending, right? Because we're currently, I gotta look at my calendar. I think daylight saving time. Yeah, it's a summer thing, and so we're going to standard time. Whatever. It's today, so I guess it's just 1 week different, but still kind of annoying and crazy. Have I got room for that yellow bug? So the cool or shameful, depending on how you see such things, that yellow bug that is on the trailer outside in the photo is one of 3 classic beetles that I have. The other 2 are inside the garage, and no, I do not have a place for them. So what I had to do is I had to rent a storage garage. It's like a 20 by 30 foot storage area. And as soon as my truck is fixed, the mechanic did finally fix the brakes on my truck, but he's got a really crazy schedule, so he's got to bleed out the brake system. And when he gets that done, I'll use that car hauling trailer to get all 3 beetles, plus my 1980 city car, the tiny little. If you don't know what a city car is, it's worth Googling. I have a 1980 city car. It's a tiny little electric vehicle from 1980, and I have one of those too. And all 4 should fit in the storage shed. And then the plan is, with the proceeds from the farm, assuming it sells, and I'm still terrified it's not going to sell, but the farm sells, we'll use the proceeds to build a garage at our current house in town, and we're probably going to go, like, at first I wanted to build it so it went underneath our house and all the way out to the road, but I think that's going to be prohibitively expensive, so we're probably going to build it a little bit smaller, but street level, and it should still be a 2-car garage. And then I'll be able to store one Beetle in there and then fix it and sell it. And I think my wife is going to be okay if I keep one Beetle. And that one is probably going to get the electric conversion kit. I really want to make one of the Beetles an electric car. They make a really cool conversion kit that you keep the transmission and everything the same. You just, there's a coupler that you put an electric motor in place of the gasoline engine. And there's like a coupler so it fits on the transmission. So you can actually shift and use a clutch like normal, or you can just leave it in 4th gear or 3rd gear, I think is the gear you just leave it in all the time. And then the electric motor takes over, and then you just take out the gas tank, put a battery pack there and a battery bank behind the seat. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then ideally be able to just, get rid of the other 2. I only need one. I don't need lots of them. Hope the election goes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Thank you, Gray. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just hope it sells. The tricky thing about houses, I guess, is that if they don't sell within like the first 2 weeks, they usually sit on the market and just rot forever. And I don't want that. The last time we've only ever sold one other house, and we sold it. There were lots of houses in foreclosure around it. So we paid $180,000 for the house, and then like 2 or 3 years later, when we sold it, we had to take $115,000 because the market was so bad, and it had been for sale for a year, and we just had to get rid of it. So it was a nightmare, and I did not. So I'm afraid that the farm sale is going to go like that too. But anyway, Gray, need a future video of the city car in action. They had one at the counting cars a few years back. It was awesome. That's cool. There must be video of me around somewhere driving it around. The city car had a really a really cheap design where it didn't have a variable gas pedal. It had three modes. Maybe it was just slow and fast. Yeah, I think it might have just been slow and fast. No, I think it had like the first click. It was just like a contactor system. It wasn't any sort of a rheostat or anything like that. The first click, it would be one. There's 2 battery banks. It would be one of the battery banks, and then the next click would be both battery banks, but in parallel. And then if you floored it, the third option was both battery banks, but in series. And that is the only 3 options you had for speeds in the city car. And so you couldn't like ever cruise at a certain cruising speed. You had to constantly move the pedal and either be accelerating or decelerating to try to stay at speed. But the last time we took it for a drive, we just went out to dinner at a local winery, my wife and I, and the contactor is underneath the passenger seat, and we heard, and then all of a sudden the city car couldn't even propel itself faster than like 3 miles an hour. It was really bad. So we drove it all the way back at like 3 miles an hour. We managed to get it to the house, and then that was it. And that was the last time we drove it. So what I want to do is get rid of the 1980s technology. I want to keep the frame and everything because it's a street legal car, which is fascinating. But I want to get like a 48 volt or 36 volt electric go-kart and use its guts to make it go. And then, that's the plan. So, Unreal Bot, thank you. Yeah. Here's it's currently green and messed up is its standard state. So, it's always fun. Hello, Samples and Tests. You found me from a Reddit Linux Plus learning resource recommendations. Oh, wow. Well, that's cool. It's good to know that somebody has recommended me. Yeah, I do have a scary or a sad spoiler for you. I haven't finished the course, and I've had a really difficult time getting back on track finishing the course. So go really super slow, or don't be too upset if you get to the end and it's not the end of the course yet. So it has to do with job changes and struggles and all sorts of stuff. But oh, just heads up, my bird cam needs a stream updated. Oh no. Oh wait, so it's not live every day? Oh, okay, thank you. I will make a note, samples and tests, because yeah, I have to do that constantly. It's very, very frustrating. I don't know. I'm going to do it while we're right here. In fact, gosh, it's been a while, which should tell me. Here, you want to do it together with me? No, because it'll probably show my... No, I don't think it will. I don't think it'll show my code. Why is it not finding it? I bet it's OS 10. Not being able to. Well, we're going to do Arlene, see if it finds it. Bum, bum, bum. There's a problem. Oh, man. All right. Well, I can't do it now. So I will, I'm going to leave my no machine window open. I don't know why I can't connect to it, but yeah, that sucks. I appreciate that. Samples and tests. I've been okay. But it's been going through your Linux over bash scripting and through how Linux works book. Need to learn Linux. Yeah, the bash scripting is fun. I think I even made like a little playlist of bash scripting videos, I think, on my YouTube channel. That was fun. I love bash scripting. It's amazing what you can do. Great. Let's see. In a cybersecurity boot camp at the moment and have short pass along with the Linux series. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Nor is me a bit of a pain. Yeah, where you are, just sort Linux Plus when you can. Ugh, I appreciate that attitude because, yeah, it's tough. And this sounds bad, but if our farm sells, that will, take the constant looming pressure of unsurmountable debt off my head a little bit. I mean, it's not like our retirement plan or anything, but, we could pay off credit cards that we had to build up when I took my job transition and stuff. And yeah, we would be I'd be able to breathe a little bit easier if we can sell the stinking farm. So psychologically, that will help. Even if it doesn't help a whole lot with time, it'll help a lot psychologically. Yeah, please don't feel any guilt for not finishing. Oh, I thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, again, I do feel guilty that it's not done, but I appreciate that. Not too many people are like angry at me for it. I mean, most people are like, when somebody leaves a nasty comment, they'll be like, I mean, hey, it's free. What the heck? Why would you complain about it? But I mean, at the same time, if you're really into a course and you really want to, finish the course, especially if you like it, and then you find out it just stops. I mean, I get why people would be frustrated. I'm frustrated, and I'm not even taking the course. But anyway. The bash scripting vid's cool. I appreciate that, Bite Moose, very, very much. It's kind of funny. I have to laugh a little bit. I might have to watch a couple of my Linux Plus videos just to get a feel for how I made Linux Plus videos for YouTube, just because it's been a year now. And while I'm still not good at Google Cloud stuff for CBT Nuggets, they have a definite way of doing videos or content, because it's not just videos anymore. And I don't want like my videos on YouTube to necessarily be like that. So yeah, I have to make sure that I get my own vibe when I do those. Yeah. And So it's funny that one of the ways to tell my current handle on productivity or stuff is the state of my office. And I mean, it's starting to sneak into frame too. Like right here is like a mic stand, and I'm still doing pretty good keeping stuff in frame, neat. But like here, I mean, can we look over? Does this work? I thought these. Okay. I thought I could. Why is it? What is happening? So I thought these other buttons moved the camera elsewhere. Apparently I can't show you anything else. Huh. I might have to restart my computer. It's acting really goofy. Anyway, I was just gonna like, my office is a garbage heap right now, and that's sad. But nonetheless, just think daylight saving time is almost over. I'll get all that time back. Oh, go back to my early Linux days. What would you recommend to someone hoping to become a system administrator? I know I mentioned last week this a little bit, but be comfortable with development. Scripting, but even a little further. I know that Python, I think, is technically a scripting language, but just be familiar with scripting because it's more a part of system administration than it was back in my day. And apart from that, just in general, have computers at your house that do something. And they could be virtual machines. They could be real home lab stuff. They could be old junky stuff, but just do stuff with them. Think of something, set up a website, set up Docker, set up Kubernetes, even though I don't use Kubernetes myself. Set up stuff, learn how systemd startup scripts work, use Docker Compose, use Ansible, administer servers with Ansible. That's kind of the way that it's done now with a bunch of Linux servers. Usually people use Ansible to maintain and upgrade and facilitate stuff. So be familiar with DevOps tools, even if you don't plan to be like a DevOps specialist. Those are the tools now that, whether you're on the dev side or the ops side, that you really are using to, administer more than one or two servers. You start using Ansible to do that. So, yeah. Let's see. I know how I feel about the Linux vids. They're like a few bucks for something like Udemy. So, ByteMoose. Yeah, the Linux vids that you really make. I wonder if, what I don't know is, do people actually make money with Udemy? I don't know, because I know like a lot of the courses, like you can, all of a sudden it's like $10 for a course or whatever. And when I put them on YouTube, I mean, when I first put videos on YouTube, it wasn't even monetized. So it literally, there was nothing other than, I was happy to put them on to help people. And that's still the main motivation. But the YouTube channel does still bring in, some ad revenue. I mean, a few $100s a month, but that's better than a stick in the eye. And I don't know. I wish I knew somebody who did Udemy courses to ask them, like, so what really, what do you really get from that? And I know there's other things too, like Skillshare. There was a time when if you had some niche content on Skillshare, you can make a ton of money, but now they've kind of changed all that, I think. So people like Ali Abdul, is that his last name? I think so. Anyway, he was making millions from it, and then they changed the algorithm, and he, is no longer doing that for his productivity stuff. So yeah, I don't know. The more I focus on making money, the worse I am at making money. So anyway, I would be curious to know anybody who really does have Udemy courses, if they do well financially from them. Let's see, Gray, and my interview with Chuck and Cameron from a few years back. Oh, yes. Yeah, virtual machines. Yeah. It's funny, I forgot about that interview. I don't even know if they still do that podcast, but they were, I was not the first, but one of their first guests. And yeah, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good talk. It started to shift into crypto talk, and I was like, no, that's not my game anymore. It was for a long time. And then it just turned into like the dude bro game, and it really lost all of its charm for me. And then it was my system administrator life for several years. And I really loved the sysadmin part of it, but it died because the crypto world kind of fell apart. So, but I digress. Yeah, that was a fun interview. I miss having the time to just devote to online stuff like that. We're working more with scripting as time goes on for network automation and updates. Yeah, we're starting Ansible for that kind of stuff. Yeah, Ansible. I love Ansible. And I taught a lot of courses. I taught courses on Chef, and I taught a course on Chef, and I taught a course on Puppet, and then I think I taught a course on Ansible. I don't know if I taught a course on Ansible or if I just used Ansible, but no, I think I did. I definitely taught a course on it. But the thing is, Ansible thinks the most like a system administrator, if that makes sense. Like the other tools that I made training for were really developer centric. Like the configuration files were very clearly scripting language. Whereas with Ansible, yes, there's still a language in the whatever they call them, playbooks. Do they call them playbooks? I don't remember the terminology. But it just feels like a well-developed bash script when I use Ansible, and it just feels so cozy. So anyway, how often do I reboot my computer? My Mac is at 25 days. My Windows laptop is at day 55. Yeah, so it depends on the Linux on the system. I usually reboot my Mac when things start not working right, like this. I can't get no machines to work, and it's because on this machine I'm running the beta of OS 18.1 or whatever, and I think that's why the network, it doesn't prompt if you want to allow access to the network sometimes, and so it gets goofy. So I usually reboot this when things aren't working right. My Linux servers, usually I reboot when there's a kernel update. So and it seems to happen more often than not. And years ago we were told like, oh, the kernel is going to, automatically use the new kernel and you're not going to have to reboot. But I've never seen that actually happen in practice. So yeah, I usually just reboot them whenever they need to be rebooted or whenever there's an update that has a new kernel. I know some people are like crazy about uptime days, but I've never been one of those people. If I have a really long uptime, the server's generally really out of date, and that always worries me. So let's see. Most of the courses on Udemy are 59. Okay. But Moose, I appreciate that. I don't know. I don't know how many. They're probably. I did ask, and Udemy takes a pretty big chunk of the sale, but I don't remember how much. And I don't know how much they market it. Like, I think they market things, obviously, that they have a bigger cut of. I don't remember the details. I looked at one point, but it was complicated, and I thought, no, I'll just have it on YouTube. But anyway, still called Ansible playbooks. Okay. Oh, Debian with GNOME. Oh. As Mate, so Mate is still my favorite desktop environment. Well, sort of. Okay, so here's the deal. If I install Ubuntu, and that's generally my go-to, especially on a laptop, because Ubuntu usually configures itself automatically pretty darn well. So if I'm installing on a laptop, it'll be Ubuntu, and I'll usually go with Mate. However, when this system, like while I was making the bulk of the Linux Plus course, I think it was on my Linux desktop that I was doing the recording, I used plain straight up Debian, and I used IceWM as my window manager, which is not even a desktop environment. Although, no, I guess maybe maybe it did do like a little bit of session management. So maybe technically it was a desktop environment, like desktop manager, not just a window manager. I don't know what the terminology is, but IceWM was what I used on this computer with like the 5 monitors and stuff. But then I ended up stopping using Linux, and I don't remember the reason that I switched. Honestly, I truly don't remember what the motivation was why I switched away from Linux. Something was a showstopper for me, and so then I went to OS 10. I think it was before I got. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was when I got this Mac Studio when I started the new job at CBT Nuggets. So maybe that's what it was that caused the transition. But anyway, generally Mate on a laptop, and then IceWM because I like it simple. I like to keep it simple on the desktop. Let's see. CCNA course in 100 days of code for Python. Ooh, nice. I certainly don't mind at all. No, I'd love y'all talking about such things. Any other resources of your own or any other ones that you have? Mary. Oh, popping in to say hi. Oh, watching the Lions. All right. Mary is my sister, for anyone who doesn't know. All right, go Lions. I assume they're good this year. And cool. Also, you said I'm popping in, and I misread that as pooping. And I was like, wow, you're on the phone pooping. Great. Appreciate that. But that's not what you said. So good luck with the game. I hope it goes well. What are my thoughts on OpenSUSE as well, especially with my sysadmin expertise? The community certainly markets it as a sysadmin's dream. So first, I'll tell you a story. Sit back, children. When Linux Journal was in its prime, and I was writing. I had the multiple columns every month, and I mean even after we transitioned from a print magazine to a digital only. It was still Linux Journal for a while that way. And we had a sysadmin on staff. His name was Mitch. If you watch the Linux Journal YouTube channel, which got deleted in one of the buyouts, Mitch was Mitch Frazier. I mean, he said his name, so I don't think that's a secret. He would also do some videos for the YouTube channel, but he was the sysadmin for Linux Journal, and he was an OpenSUSE fan through and through. And so all of the servers that Linux Journal used were running OpenSUSE. It worked fine. The thing I don't love about OpenSUSE is that it uses Zypper, I think, it's like the tool to manage package management. I think it uses RPMs under the behind the scenes, but Zypper is the program, and it's just different. And I've just always preferred Debian-based stuff. I just love apt. I like the way apt works. I'm just familiar with it. So I generally don't love RPM-based distributions. And so I have nothing against OpenSUSE, but I just have never really been one to use it just because it's not Debian-based. So I guess that's what it is. So, but Moose Lions, remember Barry Sanders. So yeah, if you say Lions, in my brain, I still think Barry Sanders. It's funny that you bring him up. Samples of test, Dell laptop, years old. Oh, but Moose, thank you. I think we both prefer to stick with Sean's content. I think he'd approve of us learning everything. Yeah, absolutely. I have absolutely no qualm with people talking about other channels, other ways of learning, other people, even paid stuff. By all means, I'd prefer not selling crypto here, but that's not because of any reasons other than crypto has burned me out. Yeah, Scott. So it's funny you say NVIDIA doesn't always play nice with Linux. You are right, and they've been when I had an NVIDIA 3090 on my desktop machine here on my desk when I was creating, and it was both the nicest and most frustrating experience because when the drivers are working, NVIDIA is very well supported and it works extremely well and reliable and all of those things. But trying to make it work just right is so tough. Like I've never gotten the open source NVIDIA drivers to work. Not the Nouveau stuff, but like NVIDIA releases versions of their drivers that they say are open source, and then they have like the regular ones, and only the regular ones have I ever gotten working. And then if you try to add the CUDA toolkit to it, again, when it's installed and working right, it works so good. And that CUDA engine is amazing for accelerating software. But trying to get it to work and not break itself during other system upgrades or updates is just a pain in the butt. So yeah, I have a real love-hate relationship with NVIDIA and Linux. That is for sure. And I realize nobody asked me, but you're talking about it, and hey, I can't help myself because I'm a nerd. Yeah. So it's all I can think about. I'm so sorry that I'm coming back to the non-techie thing on my farm, but no, I actually do have some techie information about that. But supposedly if it doesn't sell within 2 weeks, it's just going to sit idle, and that breaks my heart because it's now been up for like 2 days. So, but here's the news about it. So, I have to get all of my stuff out of the farm because ideally it will sell and somebody else will own it. And so I've been moving stuff out of my micro data center there because everything was hosted there. I had my mail hosted there. I had every website, every application that I did, everything was hosted out there. And I've been slowly moving stuff away. Like for example, like a month ago, I stopped hosting my own email, and I know I talked about it on the live stream, but I moved all of my domains to use the free service on Cloudflare, where they forward email like to a Gmail account, which is what I do. And I have all of my email forwarded to my Gmail account, and then I use Mailgun as the outgoing server because you can run it as an alias of your Gmail account. But then if you look in the email headers, it says sent for brainofsean.com or sent by Gmail on behalf of brainofsean.com or whatever. And I like to have clean email headers, so I set up the outgoing mail for all of my domains using Gmail. But you can have Gmail use specific servers for each outgoing email address. And so I have Mailgun set up for outgoing email, and that's working. So then I'm not hosting that at my farm. And then I started moving all of my stuff over. And last week, you may remember, I talked about I was setting up my Oracle server and realized that when I deleted it and recreated it so I could get a fresh install, all of a sudden I couldn't get it, like said, no more resources available. I read that somebody said if you upgrade to pay as you go, even though you still use just free services, you get, better access or higher priority. Turns out that's the case. It took like 3 days, and then my account was migrated to pay as you go instead of free on Oracle Cloud. And as soon as it was pay as you go, I spun up that ARM server where you get the free 24 gigs of RAM and 4 virtual processors and 100 gigs of storage, and it spun right up. So I'm still not paying anything, but now I have the potential to pay for stuff because I have pay as you go set up, and so they gave me higher priority. But anyway, I set up that server with Docker, and so I've been migrating my services, like my websites, away from my farm. And so like brainofsean.com and mybigroundworld.com and no, that's not true. About half of my websites now have been moved over. Anything hosted by Docker has been moved over. I still have a lot of other websites that I have to move over, but they've all been running on in the Oracle Cloud. So that's not, I still have some work to finish the websites. And the only other real big thing that I have running there, public facing, is Plex. And so I did move the Plex server to my house, so it's very underpowered as far as bandwidth goes, but it's running. And now I'm going to have to move my actual NAS device. That's the last one. I'll have to move it, I guess, to my house temporarily. And then, and I know there's comments I haven't read, so but then I'll be able to move, shut down all the servers, shut down my Proxmox cluster, shut down all the stuff out there, move it to my daughter and son-in-law's house, and I'm going to use the fiber optics at their house. And I already ordered a cable. We're going to wire it directly to their garage, and I get the corner of their garage, and I'm going to provide internet service for their family. I'll do things properly so they have really solid Wi-Fi in their house, and then I'll host all the stuff from there because they can get fiber where they live and I can't get it where I live. So it's all coming together, but it's been quite a process. Moving stuff is a lot. So anyway, yes, sorry, I'm way behind now, and now we're all caught up on where I am with that process. The nice thing is when I focus on that, it's focusing on stuff that I can control, like moving services and stuff, instead of just waiting for somebody to buy the farm, which I can't really control. Andy, yeah, the clock's changing in the UK. I forgot that happens at a different time too. So yeah. Stephen loved Ubuntu 2 from version 804. Oh yeah, Hardy Heron 804. It's funny that I know that without even looking it up because anyway, I like the direction they started ahead. Yeah, I used to be gung ho for Ubuntu the company, but yeah, agreed. And I can't even give specific reasons why I'm not like all gung ho for the company anymore. But I mean, the word Ubuntu itself, comes from the African word like meaning all of us or whatever. It was such a great story, but it just got more and more corporate. And my love for Ubuntu is probably 85% my love for Debian. So rather than not use Debian, like when I don't use Ubuntu, I use Debian. And so, I've tried a couple times to use Fedora, and I don't know if he's still here, but like I know Lewis uses Fedora and Red Hat for everything, and he just loves it. And I have absolute respect for that. It just, for some reason, my brain does not wrap around the Red Hat way of doing things, and I just think Debianly. So for me, it's either Ubuntu or Debian if I want to go back to my roots kind of thing. So anyway, as part of the migration always takes longer than planned for some reason. Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, work and bills get in the way, and sleep. I mean, if I didn't have to sleep, it sure would be a lot easier to get stuff done. But yeah, I ended up spending hours not yesterday. Maybe it was yesterday. But yeah, I spent like hours, what I thought was going to take like 20 minutes, and just migrating Docker images, and then I spent a long time migrating a volume. For most Docker instances, I don't use Docker volumes. I'll just use like the redirect, like the volume. I know there's words for it, but like a Docker volume is like a Docker contained place for file storage, whereas you can also just redirect to like the host file system, which is what I normally do. But some things don't work well that way, because if you use a Docker volume, Docker will populate that volume with the contents of what is inside the Docker image for that location. But if you just map a folder, it will not auto-populate the stuff into the folder. And so for one, what was it? It was some program that I was using that I had to use a volume. Oh, LinkStack. So LinkStack is what I use for, hold on just a second. HTTPS, SeanPowers.com. So if you go to that website, I know there's comments, I'll catch up in a minute, I promise. If you go to that website, that's LinkStack, and it's run on a Docker image, but you have to use a volume, a Docker volume, not just a mapped file system location from the host file system. So anyway, it took me forever to properly migrate a volume. Like I had to, like I tried rsyncing it, that didn't work. I had to use tar and then untar it, and then I had to like restart the Docker process so it would properly recognize it. It was insane. There's not a good way to import and export volumes in Docker, which is weird for me. But anyway, it took me so long, and that's why I think I have all the Docker stuff migrated, but I don't have all the websites migrated yet. And I don't have all the stuff that manages my media library. That's all still at the farm because that's a lot of bandwidth that I just don't have anywhere. So that'll probably just go offline until I move it. That's my plan anyway. All right, I'm way behind in comments because I got trapped in a thing. Buying the farm. That was one of my favorite jokes for years. I've been saying, so Donna and I bought the farm, but literally, not figuratively. Yeah. Let's see. Went to Linux Mint. Yeah. And Linux Mint has like Ubuntu and then Debian only, I think. I don't even know if they still have an Ubuntu version. So I know a lot of people love Mint, and yeah. 335. You can't buy a 2-bedroom flat in the UK. Oh my goodness. This is just painful. So yeah, it feels like I'm asking way too much for my farm, but I mean that I didn't set the price. I really relied on the realtor to determine like what in the current market, what things are worth. And I mean, it's an older farmhouse, but everything is pretty nice. Like the bathroom was completely remodeled. All the plumbing was replaced. Has a new high efficiency furnace. Yeah, lots of things were done. My daughter and son-in-law live there, and they just kept making improvements while they lived there. And so I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I hope it sells. Samples and test. Started using Debian when I got Raspberry Pi, which is when I got back into Linux. The original used Slackware. Yeah. Mint's flagship is still Ubuntu. Okay, I didn't know, Scott. That's interesting. I know that they've had the Ubuntu or the Debian version for a long time, but nonetheless, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like if you're using the Ubuntu base for a thing, I don't know that that's supporting Ubuntu or anything. I mean, so much of it is open source contributions that part of me wants to keep using Ubuntu because I can and not use their pro stuff, so I don't know. I don't get too wrapped around the axle when companies do stuff, but yeah. And most of the stuff I do now is Docker based. So the host operating system matters less and less, but there are container optimized operating systems. I've never used them at all. And I've also struggled. So in fact, I think I'm going to take the video down. If you go on my YouTube channel, I talk about controlling Docker apps with systemd service files, per Docker application. I, for years, have used systemd, but that is getting less and less, like they'll just hang for me. And I don't have an explanation as to why. So what I've been doing now is like when I migrate, and that's partially why it took a lot longer. When I migrate stuff, I go from Docker to Docker Compose. I can use systemd to bring up and down Docker Compose applications seemingly a lot more reliably than using just systemd and Docker directly. So I just have been converting everything to Docker Compose, which is funny because I think Docker Compose still says don't use it for production. It's just spinning up Docker. So I have no problem using it in production. And it seems to work cleaner for starting and stopping services. So, yeah. The other nice thing, I'm really getting deep into the weeds here, but when I make changes to Docker Compose, I don't have to reload the systemd daemon, because all I'm doing is Docker Compose up, Docker Compose down using systemd, whereas I just change the Docker Compose file itself, and then I can completely change the configuration of the Docker application without messing with the systemd configs at all. So that was a lot of jargon. Sorry about that. Blade started with Red Hat Linux 6.2 back in 2001-ish. Yeah, so that's right around when I started playing with Linux too. I don't when was the Halloween edition? For some reason, I think that was my first one. Let's see, Red Hat Halloween edition. When was the 09 version? When was that though? I don't know when it was. Looks like it was 0.9. Yeah, the Wikipedia page will have the information. Oh, 94. Okay, yeah, that was not the first time I used it. My goodness, no. I didn't start really playing with Linux until the late 90s. And then after my car accident, I had to relearn using Linux. So, yeah. Probably my first was around version 6, I'm guessing, because my car accident was in March of 99. And then in April of 99, version 6.0 came out. So that's probably when I first started playing with the Red Hat. Because I did play with Red Hat at first, and then fairly quickly afterwards moved into Debian because Debian had better support for other CPUs. And when I got the job at the school district in 2000, they had mostly PowerPC computers, and so Red Hat didn't have support for PowerPC. Yellow Dog did, which I used a lot of Yellow Dog, but then Debian did have native support for PowerPC, and I had to use Debian to get laptops to work. In order for laptops with a PowerPC processor to work, had to use Debian because it was the only one that had good support for Wi-Fi cards and stuff back then. So anyway, that's a trail not traveled in a long time. Yeah, RHEL does seem to get a lot more slime, especially recently. Recently it was bad. Does Linus work at Canonical? I thought Linus worked for the Linux Foundation. I could be wrong. I thought that he was working for the Linux Foundation. I know my friend George worked at Canonical. He doesn't anymore. I don't know, though. I guess I don't know that. Steven, let's see. I used to make a file build of my Docker containers from Docker compose file Q. Oh. Build my Docker. Yeah, I don't know much about... So I have just been building a Docker compose file by hand. And then I did notice in the most recent version of Ubuntu server that you have to use Docker compose v2, and then it's no longer docker-compose. It's then like a subcommand of Docker. So like Docker space compose in order to do it, which was weird. And I didn't look too much into it. But anyway, did anyone get the Linux distros from InfoMagic? I did not get any InfoMagic stuff. No. But most users for Union had to rebuild the kernel to get IP version 6 support. Oh, yeah. Gosh, we used to have to rebuild the kernel so often using non-standard CPU, like the PowerPC stuff that I had available at the school district. Man, everything was a complete kernel recompile. It was such a pain in the butt because it also took a long time. They weren't really fast computers, no matter what Steve Jobs was trying to say at the time. So it took forever to compile stuff. Thankfully, I didn't ever get on the Gentoo. I never tried to install Gentoo on those, but just compiling the kernel alone was enough. It was a lot. So yeah. How are we doing on time? Are we doing okay? Oh, already only got 10 minutes left. My goodness. Yeah. Oh, maybe he does, Scott. Maybe that's it. Maybe we're both right. I don't know where he works. I've never met him either. It's funny. We've come close to meeting a lot of times, but I've never met Linus himself. Gray, let's see. Funny enough, I bought a copy of the Linux Forum mag a couple of months back, and it came with the CD with Rocky and Fedora Linux. That is pretty funny. It's funny that Linux Forum still comes with the CD, or probably a DVD at that point. Yeah, we talked about that at Linux Journal for a long time. Like, should we include this? And it was like, the amount of money that it would cost us to mass produce them and ship them, it wouldn't be worth. I mean, nobody would want it afterwards, but it had kind of become the thing for Linux Forum, I think, where they always sent a disc, and so that's that was their thing. Tia, had any showings yet? So the very first day that it was listed on Friday, we had 2 showings at the farm. One person is not interested at all. The other person is, they're contacting the county and stuff for zoning things to find out. I think they want to make it an event, a barn property kind of thing. And so they're looking into that, but they really liked the property. It's hard to say what they'll find. I mean, we struggled with using the farm for ministry, but I think that's because it was ministry and people didn't want it to be a ministry. But if it's just like an event place, maybe they'll have better luck. So I don't know. We'll see what they say. And then this week, there's lots of plans. Like the realtor has a social media campaign planned, and I think next weekend there's going to be an open house out there. So hopefully, it's still not. It's not time to be worried that we haven't got offers or anything yet. But gosh, I'm just worried that it's not going to go well. So anyway. Brian Kimmel, I started using Linux before any distros existed. See, yeah, that's, that's saying something. Those were back in the days where, Slackware, I did use Slackware for a while. I liked the simplicity may not be the right word. I liked, the way that Slackware was its own beast. So yeah, Slackware being the oldest distribution. So before Slackware even, I did not. I have to admit, I was, I think Linus's famous post in the news group was in '93, where he came up with Linux. I was in college or university for the first year. For my freshman year in 1993, but at that point, I was learning about computers because I skipped my engineering classes and went to the computer lab, but I didn't know anything about Linux at that point. I learned a little bit about Unix because one of the labs that I would always go to was the Next lab. Steve Jobs' famous Next cubes. They had a whole lab of them at Michigan Tech, and that was running Linux, of course. Or not Linux, it was running Unix, or Next, which was based on Unix, or however it was. So I got to use that a little bit, but yeah, I didn't use Linux before 1999. That was the first time probably 1998. I started to play with it a little bit at my job before I had my car accident, but I don't remember that, and I remember relearning it in 1999. So yeah. UUCP. Oh yeah. It's funny now. Usenet is all like file sharing weirdness, still based on text. It's just the weirdest thing. But yeah, Usenet was the Reddit of the day, right? I spent a lot of time on Usenet back in the day. Yeah, I think Trunkboy was probably my username on a lot of old archived, Alt Good Morning channels and stuff. There's some embarrassing stuff that I wrote back then. Let's see, the first person I know installed Linux was a little distro. 100 floppies. Dang, that's a lot of floppies. We started computers during the day. UUCP, yeah. Yeah. So at Michigan Tech, They also used a lot of Gopher. The Gopher server was a big deal, and the Archie search, Archie and Veronica to search. Did it search Usenet or did it search the Gopher? I don't remember all the things. And then to connect, we would have to use like Z modem or X modem or Kermit protocols just to connect to the remote servers or BBSs. Those were the days. Yeah, IRC too. I mean, IRC back in the day, which was real time communication. And I wish I could I wish I remembered if I participated in IRC very much back then. I know that I was on Usenet because that's still archived. I mean, there are still places you can go and read my old posts on channels, because I did. I went back to find them, and sure enough, I was a weird kid in my college days. But yeah, IRC. I mean, and then like Freenode was the IRC of choice forever, and then it got weird and like bought out, and then everybody went to, is it Libra News or LibraNet? I don't even remember where the new one is. I haven't done IRC very much. The only IRC I really did was when I was a co-host at Twit TV. They always used IRC as like the back channel to communicate during shows, and so I would use, but then they had their own IRC server. But yeah, like there was a Linux Journal channel for years and years and years, but I digress. Time marches on. FidoNet and SmartNet in the BBSs. Oh, nice. I know that I connected to BBSs up in Houghton, which is where Michigan Tech is, but I don't remember anything about them. And since I was alone in my room doing them, there's nobody that can fill me in, because it was all before my car accident. If anybody here doesn't know, I had a car accident in 1999. I hit my head and I don't remember anything before March of 1999. So all of my college experiences are remembered third party, like people would tell me. So like everything that I know from before 99 is all from stuff that people told me. For the most part, I think some of it I've remembered, but it turns out your brain doesn't like know if it's a real memory or something that you've constructed because people told you about it. Brains are not nearly as cool as we think. Bite Moose, watch your more of it. All right. Well, I apologize if you're going to watch more of my stuff this week. That's a lot of exposure to this. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Mary, back from the very end. Lions won 52-14. All right. See, and now if you hadn't been pooping, Mary, maybe they would have lost. So now every game you're going to have to take a break. And anybody who stopped in late, Mary said earlier that she popped in to say hi, but I misread it and I thought it said that she was pooping. So nonetheless, it's how the last millennium. It is true. It's so funny that it's the 20s now. And, 20s, I still think 1920s and, yeah, political unrest and, oh dear. Maybe we are in the 20s. All right, well, my coffee is gone. My water's not quite gone. But I need to go do some dishes before it's time to get my wife from work, and it is about time to close up anyway. So thank you, everyone who tuned in to talk nerdy stuff. I appreciate it. Hopefully next time we talk, maybe I'll have offers on the farm. That would be super cool. But remember, my European friends, the daylight saving time does change for me, but you know what? It changes Sunday at 2 a.m. So the next week, so a week from now, I should be in sync with European time as well. Like those of you who do daylight saving time, our time is going to change next Sunday in time for the live stream. So yeah, see everybody next week or during the week. If you come to the morning live streams, they're not on this YouTube channel. They're on the other YouTube channel, but they're on this Twitch channel. And I'll